Hi, welcome to Garden City Church KL Online. We hope this message equips you and gives you encouragement to live out your faith boldly and practically. If you want to learn more about our church, visit our website at www.gardencitykl.com or click the link in the description below.
Well, good morning to all of you and welcome to Garden City. My name is Eric. I am one of the pastors here, and we are just going to jump straight back into the Gospel of John this morning. Last week, Jesus gave us one of the clearest signs of who he is by raising Lazarus from the dead. I mean, he'd been saying for a while now that God gave him authority over life and death. And to see him raise a man from the dead, I mean, at this point, you got to start thinking like he might be telling the truth. Like he might really have that kind of authority and power. But see, this moment in particular set in motion everything else in the gospel that's going to lead us to the cross. See, raising Lazarus puts the religious leaders on edge because they're worried that Jesus' power is going to stir the people to revolt and eventually be crushed by Rome. I mean, they think it is a political nightmare. And so they're all in. They're like, we got to figure out how to stop Jesus at all costs. But on the flip side, Mary and Martha just saw Jesus raise their brother from the dead. He wasn't partially dead or nearly dead. He was all the way dead. And so they're thinking about going all in for Jesus in a completely different kind of way. But how do you properly thank someone who just changed your life like that? I mean, you just saw him raise your dead brother to life. Well, of course, you feed them, right? Like that is the most appropriate thing to do next. And so if you have a Bible, pick up with me in John chapter 12. And we'll also have this on the screen for you to look at to follow along with us. Picking up in verse 1. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him at table. Mary, therefore, took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Now, Mary and Martha wanted to honor Jesus with a feast. If you look at Matthew's gospel, Matthew tells us that the party actually took place at Simon the leper's house. Now, normally you would never step foot in a leper's home because they're contagious and untouchable. I mean, you don't associate with lepers. But you go to Simon's house because he's not a leper anymore. And in those days, there were no cures for leprosy, which means that Simon's not a leper anymore. And that's because Jesus healed him. And so do you already start to see the picture that's starting to form here? The kind of people hanging around Jesus are healed lepers and formerly dead people he's raised to life. And they're overflowing with gratitude for him because he's radically changed them. And honestly, that's a picture of what the church is. I mean, the church isn't a bunch of polished religious people who've got their lives together, but broken sinners who've been forever changed by grace. That means for us, when you invite Jesus into the darkest and most sinful places of your life, he doesn't just give you a program to manage your sin. No, he breaks chains. He heals the things that you think are impossible to heal. He raises the dead to life. And when that happens to you, you just can't stay the same. This morning, I want us to see how gratitude for Jesus moves us into wholehearted devotion to him. Gratitude leads us into devote ourselves entirely to him. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus all have different interactions, as we just read with Jesus at this party. Martha, she uses her gifts to serve. She gives her gifts to serve Jesus because he's worthy of it all. Lazarus, he reclines with Jesus. He's hanging out with him. He's fellowshipping with him, which reminds us that following Jesus is personal. It's relational. He wants us to connect with him on the deepest levels. But Mary does the unthinkable here, something that at first doesn't make any sense, at least not to anybody in the room with her. But when we're talking about true devotion to Jesus, her response is probably the most fitting of all. Yeah, I've mentioned this story before of my own testimony, but when I first decided to follow Jesus, it was like God pulled back the veil from my eyes. And for the first time, I could see that Jesus died for me. For me. Like, he owed me nothing, yet gave me everything. And so looking at the cross with new eyes for the first time, I realized I didn't just owe my life to him. I wanted to give my life to him. Have you ever felt that before? Just like somebody who's done such goodness to you, has been so generous, so overwhelmingly loving toward you. And you just want to pour out yourself to them. But what I don't usually mention when I tell this story is that night I gave my life to Jesus. I actually wept, like I just uncontrollably. I couldn't help myself because I was so overwhelmed by the generosity of God toward me. Like I didn't have words for it at the time, but it was like God helped me see my own unworthiness in that moment and then wash it away by his worthiness. And I pray it never gets lost on me just how unworthy I was and how worthy he is. And yet in that moment, he says, I love you. And maybe that's what he's saying to you right now is, I love you. Mary understood that. See, Jesus didn't just raise her brother from the dead. He showed her that he's the resurrection and the life. And so when she poured perfume on his feet, people thought it was scandalous. But to her, it was the only response that made any sense at all. See, Mary shows us what it means to be all in for Jesus. And it all starts from a place of gratitude at what Jesus has done for me that leads us into a joy in doing anything for him. Let me show you 3 things Mary teaches us about devotion to Jesus. First, devotion to Jesus means for him. There's nothing I wouldn't give up for him. In verse 3, Mary takes out a pound of expensive perfume and pours it all on Jesus' feet. And at first, to me, as I'm reading that, I think that just sounds strange. Like, I would never do that. People don't put perfume on feet, do they? I don't. Do you put perfume on feet? I just think feet are gross and smelly. Then again, I've started coaching soccer again and recently, and with the combination of sweat and rain, and like my shoes smell really bad, to the point that my wife has banned me from bringing my shoes inside. I was trying to hide them in like a back room, but she found them, and she's like, you can't do that anymore. I was thinking, it was from a good place. I was thinking about like our guests and our neighbors who are walking by. She's like, no, those things got to stay far away from anywhere with me. And so I get it. I probably need to invest in some Febreze or something like that. But in those days, feet were no less dirty, and they didn't necessarily have a lot of products to help mask the smell. That's why on special occasions like a feast, it wasn't uncommon for the host to pull out the spices and the perfume to make the home smell nice. The hostess might even dab a little bit of the ointment on the heads of her party guests to fill the room with a pleasant aroma. But when Mary sees Jesus, she doesn't just dab a little bit on his head. Like she breaks the jar and she pours out the whole thing. See, the fragrance didn't just cover the room they were in, it filled the whole house. You can almost think of Martha here, hearing her in the background just screaming out, like as she's doing all the work behind the scenes, and she smells this aroma, and she's like, Mary, what have you done now? But you don't realize just how upsetting all of this was until a few verses later. In verse 4, it says, but Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, talking about Jesus, he who was about to betray him, said, why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor? See, the expensive perfume Mary poured out was worth a small fortune. 300 denarii was, just think about your entire income for 2025 and then think about giving it away to something else. Like you buy perfume and you pour it on somebody's feet. You're like, what a waste. Now, you could try to calculate the exact value of this perfume, but that's not really the main point. The point is Mary basically took her family's entire savings, which had probably been passed down and accumulated over generations, and poured it all out on Jesus' feet in this moment. Judas calls her out on it, but Matthew and Mark say the whole dinner party had some harsh words to say for her in this moment. Have you ever seen somebody do something just so frustratingly stupid that you get upset with them, even though it has nothing to do with you, just based on pure principle of it? You're like, that makes me mad. I cannot believe you would do something like that. Like, that's what's going on here. Like, how could Mary throw away her family's fortune like that? And even if you're going to give it away, why not sell the perfume and then give the money to the poor? But Jesus sees right through this. See, he's known all along that Judas doesn't value him the way that he should. It kind of makes you wonder how Jesus could continue to tolerate someone in his closest circle who he knew would betray him. But it just goes to show that Jesus will love you to the very end. But it's also why Jesus says in verse 7, "Leave her alone, so that she may keep it for the day of my burial. For the poor you always have with you, but you do not always have me." Now just look at the contrast here between Judas and Mary and their relationship to Jesus. See, to Mary, Jesus wasn't just a teacher, a friend, a miracle worker. He was the resurrection and the life. He was God in the flesh come to save her. And her sacrifice is an example of what true devotion looks like. And it flows from a place of seeing just how valuable Jesus is. Like Judas and Mary could not be farther apart here. Judas was of silver, but Mary says he's more precious than life. Like there's nothing I wouldn't give away to follow him. He's worthy of it all. Number 2, devotion to Jesus means there's nothing he can't ask of me. Now think about this. Mary pours out the ointment on Jesus' feet. In the next chapter, in John 13, Jesus is going to wash his disciples' feet. And they're going to object to it, not only because the master shouldn't serve the servants, but also because not even the servants were expected to do something so demeaning as touching somebody's dirty feet. Before I got into ministry, I used to work at a restaurant called Chick-fil-A. If you've never been there, I am sorry for you because it's so delicious. There's a reason why people call it God's chicken. It is amazing. At least I think so, and I work there. And so I'm still saying that. Well, the owner of my store was the grandson of the CEO of the whole corporation. Like he's in the family. And so I used to jokingly call him the Prince of Chick-fil-A. I never said that to his face, but I said that to other people. This is the Prince. We have the Prince of Chick-fil-A who operates our store. I mean, you could, if you ever went to a Chick-fil-A, they have the picture of like the owners. Like he's in that picture with the guys in the suits. Like that was the guy who I worked for. Well, one time I was working, one of my shifts, I had these 2 huge carts of cardboard I needed to figure out how to cram into an already filled to the brim dumpster. I mean, this is at Chick-fil-A, this is about as low of a job as it gets. And right as I pulled up with the second cart, I'm about to do all this by myself and figure out, I don't even know how I'm going to fit all of these carts full of cardboard into this dumpster. The prince himself pulls up in his luxury vehicle. He gets out, he takes one look at the situation, and he says, "Looks like we're going to have to climb in and jump on it." And sure enough, he gets in. He's like the first one in, and he just starts jumping on the top of the dumpster. And I'm like, I mean, he went from 6 moments later jumping in trash with me. Now, I had lots of great moments working at Chick-fil-A, but that one goes near the top for me. Because if there was ever a moment when I thought, this job is beneath me, his willingness to go low killed that. Like after that point, I'm like, all right, you can ask me whatever you want, I'll do it. Like I'm ready, I'll do it. If you think back in John chapter 1, as we're thinking about Jesus, we're thinking about the worthiness of Jesus, what Jesus is asking of us. People, back in John 1, people were trying to figure out who John the Baptist was. Like this guy just pops up on the scene and he starts baptizing people, and everybody's like, who are you and why are you doing this? And he had a really interesting way of describing who he was. He says in verse 26, "I baptize with water, but among you stands one you do not know, even he who comes after me, the strap of whose sandal I am not worthy to untie." That's who I am. Like he's basically saying, who cares who I am? Have you seen Jesus? Like, do you know who Jesus is? I'm not even worthy to hold his filthiest article of clothing, and yet he's called me in service to him. That's who I am. I would gladly hold his shoe. That's who I am. Mary, if we come back into our story, she's just doing the same thing. See, she anoints Jesus' feet, and even that feels like a privilege to her. I mean, that's what following Jesus looks like. Because when you see him for who he is, you start to throw away all the conditions that you want to put on following him. You're like, there's nothing I wouldn't do for you, Jesus. Honestly, that's one of the biggest differences between people who've been changed by grace and people who are just religious. Religious people come to Jesus asking, what's the bare minimum I have to do to be approved by Jesus? Like, how little can I give? How little can I serve? How little do I need to sacrifice and still say I comfortably belong to him? But Mary isn't doing that at all, or if it meant honoring Jesus. Why? Because when you encounter the gospel, you realize that Jesus did the unthinkable for you. You think it's crazy I'd wash his feet, but he'd lay down his life for me, and I just can't get over that. And because he did that, there's nothing that Jesus could ask me I wouldn't say yes to. Mary would gladly wash the feet of her Savior, not to prove her loyalty to him, but because she's overwhelmed with who he is and what he's willing to do for her. See, Jesus owes me nothing, yet gives me everything. So of course he can have my life. He's worthy of even more than that. I saw this video years ago that went viral about this guy named Stephen Foster that just still rings in my ears. I still think about it every so often. Stephen Foster, he was this lawyer who later became a vicar in the Anglican Church. And in the video, he shares the story about someone asking him to join the coffee team at his church. And he thought, why would I ever do that? Like, I already work 70 hours a week. I have a job. I'm really busy. I don't need another job. But then something inside him still said yes. Everything within him is like, no. But something, like what came out was, yes, I'll do it. And so he started serving on the coffee team in his church. He started serving coffee to people. And something began to change inside of him as he started doing this. He said his heart grew warm toward the people that he was serving, even those who used to irritate him. He's like, I loved them. Like, his heart was just changing toward them. Eventually, he grew to love serving coffee. He's like, we need better mugs. We need better beans. We're serving amazing people. We love these people. We should give them the best that we have to offer. In the video, he goes on to say, serving coffee changed my life because serving coffee taught me to love the Church of Jesus Christ. I think, what a gift to fall in love with the very people that Jesus gave his life for. For Stephen, he thought serving coffee was beneath him. But when he gave himself to it, he realized it was the greater gift he could have missed out on. And so I just want to ask you, what's your serving coffee? Like, where's Jesus inviting you to lay down your life, all because he laid down his life for yours? See, those who are devoted to Jesus say, there's nothing he can't ask of me because he's worthy of it. Number 3, there's nothing I need to hide from him. There's nothing I need to hide from him. If you look back at verse 3 again, Mary pours everything out for Jesus. Like, she does the most demeaning task and then she lets her hair down, which would have been awkward and inappropriate. See, head coverings aren't just an Islamic thing, it's a Near Eastern thing. And women in those days would have only let their hair down in social settings where they were completely safe and surrounded by their closest loved ones. And so I'm sure as this moment is happening, there's a million thoughts going through people's minds when they see Mary. Like, she pours out the perfume, she lets her hair down, she starts washing his feet. I mean, what she's doing is shameful. People are probably thinking, I can't believe she would do something like that. But Jesus says there's nothing shameful about what she's doing at all. In fact, if you understood who I am and what I've come to do, you'd think that what she's doing is modest. I don't even know if Mary fully understood what she was doing in this moment, but at the very least, we can say she knew she was an unworthy sinner. She knew that Jesus was worthy of all that she had and was, and she knew that she was completely dependent on him in life and death. And I would say if that's where you are too, then you're in a pretty good place. See, Judas sees Mary giving the best things away to Jesus, and he thinks she's a fool. But Mary's come to see Jesus for who he is, which makes sense of everything that's about to happen next. And listen, we're just like Judas too. If we think giving ourselves away to Jesus means that we have to begrudgingly give away the most precious things to us. I mean, this is crucial to understanding the gospel. Here you have the most worthy man who partying with people whose sin makes them dirtier than the sandals on his feet. And one of them pours out everything she has to offer and then lets her hair down as if to say, I'll give you all of me. And I know that means you don't just take me at my absolute best, but also at my unfiltered worst. See, letting your hair down is a way of showing intimacy and love that should only happen around family members and the closest of friends. But Mary, she's doing this because she's welcoming Jesus in. She's saying, you can come in, you can have all of me. Even the most personal and intimate parts of my life, she's signaling to Jesus, my life is yours and I'm ready to build everything I have on you. All her iniquities, all her insecurities, she's giving them all to Jesus. See, religion wants you to tighten up and hide those things away. Better to look good on the outside than to show the ugly truth. But Jesus, he came to make us clean on the inside. Maybe the issue that you have with giving yourself away to Jesus isn't that he demands the best things from you. It's that you haven't experienced what it's like to surrender the dirtiest things over to him too. We think we have to get ourselves right before coming to Jesus, or we have to bury our sin and shame. But that just shows we haven't understood the gospel yet. For Mary, coming to Jesus meant putting it all out there. Like Jesus saw her. He accepted her, which meant realizing there's nothing I need to hide from him because I'm perfectly safe in his love. And the only way for him to set me free is to surrender even the most shameful things about me and then learn to walk in his light. Maybe that means for you, your life has been filled with anger. And I get it. There's just so much to be angry about in this broken world we live in. There's so much fear and pain that I'm surprised we're not even angrier than we are. But maybe that's because you're just really good at hiding it in public. But behind closed doors, you constantly lash out at you can't control your tongue, you can't control your emotions. But Jesus says, come, give it to me. Come lay it at my feet. I'll take it from you. Or maybe you can't escape the sin of pride. And it's not always apparent to others around you, but if others knew what was really going on in your heart, they wouldn't even want to look at you. How little you think of others around you, how highly you think of yourself. Maybe you're unhappy in your job right now because you're not getting the recognition you think you deserve. And you don't realize just how puffed up you've become. But Jesus wants you to take the mask off. He wants you to let your hair down with him because he can heal even your pride. Or maybe the stress of life gives way to so many unhealthy thoughts you shouldn't entertain. Sometimes lustful thoughts come uninvited and they can linger there, and they linger there longer than you know that they should. To the point that you start to think you need these things to ease the stress and the pain in your life, but they don't. They destroy your life, not prosper it. But Jesus says to give it to me. Lay your sin at my feet, and I'll take all of it upon myself. See, we think if we expose the dark things about us, it'll put us to shame. But later, Jesus says it's the only way for us to actually live. In verse 25, Jesus says, whoever loves his life loses it, and whoever hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Pastor Tim Keller tells this story about a man whose boat capsized while he was rafting over a dam. And he ended up getting caught in a whirlpool at the base. And no matter how hard he tried to swim, he couldn't escape the current, couldn't get loose from it. Well, unfortunately, the water at the base of the dam was freezing. And so eventually the man, as he was struggling, he died from hypothermia. And the moment he had no strength left to fight, his body was sucked under the current of the water. And within seconds, he popped out of the other side, downstream. And if he had just let himself go under, the very current he feared would kill him. See, in trying to save his life, he lost it. And Jesus is saying our battle with sin is no different. We think we just got to keep struggling. We just got to keep swimming, and we're surrounded by death. And he says, no, just go under. We're like, what do you mean go under? No, just go under. Just trust me. Give yourself to me. So the problem is that the way to life feels counterintuitive to us, because sometimes following Jesus feels counterintuitive to us. Just think about this. Jesus is saying that the way to save your life is to lose it. The way to be free is to become a servant. And maybe the most counterintuitive part of all of this is the one worthy of your life and devotion says, to follow me, I must die. You're like, what do you mean? What do you mean you need to die? How am I supposed to follow you into death? See, after Jesus raised Lazarus, the religious leaders, again, they decided they needed to do everything within their power to end his movement before he leads people down a path that leads to the destruction of the nation. That's why in verse 9, when the large crowd of the Jews learned that Jesus was at Bethany, they came not only on account of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to put Lazarus to death as well, because on account of him, many of the Jews were going away and believing in Jesus. I mean, poor Lazarus can't even get a book deal to write his death to life experience before the chief priests want to come after him too. And the reason they want Lazarus dead is because his testimony is another proof for people to believe and follow Jesus. And they're like, we're trying to stop that. Now, we already read that the Passover is about to happen, which means everyone is heading up to Jerusalem at this point. But see, the people there, they didn't expect Jesus to show up because why would he go to a place where he already knows that people want to kill him? Like, that's crazy. But all throughout the Gospel of John, Jesus is never motivated to play it safe. Like, he never plays it safe. Like, his motivation is to do the will of his Father who sent him. And Jesus' mission is to save sinners, and even the shame of the cross wasn't too low for him. There's still even more demeaning tasks that he's going to go lower still. But first, verse 12, it says that the next day, after this party, the large crowd that had come to the feast heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem. So they took branches of palm trees and went out to meet him, crying out, Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, even the King of Israel. And Jesus found a young donkey and sat on it, just as it is written, Fear not, daughter of Zion. Behold, your king is coming, sitting on a donkey's colt. Now, at a time in Jesus' public ministry when he was most under threat, he doesn't hide away. No, he leans into the danger. Now, the crowds of people, they're praising him. They're shouting, God, Hosanna, save us. He's come to save us. And they're thinking that this is supposed to be his coronation. Like, they think Jesus is about to give them victory over Rome when what they really need is victory over sin. They think he's coming to conquer their oppressors, but really he's coming to die in their place. And you know what? Not even in this moment, as Jesus is riding in on a donkey, as people are waving palm branches, as they're celebrating him, not even his own disciples really understand what's going on here. And you know how I know that? Because verse 16 says his disciples did not understand these things at first. Like they are trying to put the pieces, they're like, what is happening here? What are we doing? But when Jesus was glorified, then they remembered that these things had been written about him and had been done to him. See, at this point, the religious leaders, they think, as they see this moment happening, that their plans were a complete failure. Like, they're trying to stop the people from praising Jesus as king. But now the crowds are praising him as Israel's king, and even the Greek-speaking world is coming after Jesus. Even people who aren't a part of Israel are coming to see Jesus, to encounter him, to see him, to learn about him. They've gained nothing because the world's gone after him. And I think they're referring to what's going on in verse 20. Now among those who went up to worship at the feast were some Greeks. So these came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and asked him, Sir, we wish to see Jesus. And Philip went and told Andrew. Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus, and Jesus answered them, The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Basically, some Greeks come asking Philip if they can meet with Jesus because they want to see what he's all about. And Philip, because he doesn't really understand what's going on, is like, I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if I have authorization to let you do that. So he goes and asks Andrew. And Andrew's like, I don't know if they can do that either. So they go together and they go to talk to Jesus. They're like, Jesus, there's some Greek-speaking people here who want to see you. Can they do that? And Jesus, he doesn't even really give them a clear answer. He's just like, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. And at this point, I think Jesus has his sights set on the cross. Like, he is laser focused on his mission, on his purpose, and nothing is going to get in the way of what he has come to do in this moment. and he wants his disciples to shift their focus with him. He says the hour has come for him to be glorified. In other words, it's fine for people to debate who I am and what I've come in to do, but this isn't the time for that. The time has come for him to lay down his life for the world. And so the real question we need to be asking here is, are you ready for that? Are you ready to devote your life to Jesus? See, devotion to Jesus means there's nothing I wouldn't give up for him, nothing he can't ask of me, and nothing I need to hide from him. And the motivation for that kind of devotion is joy, because everything he asks of me, I realize he first did himself. Verse 24, Jesus says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. And whoever hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. If anyone serves me, he must follow me. And where I am, there will my servant be also. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him." See, Jesus owed us nothing, yet gave us everything. And so when we lay down our lives, we don't do it from a place of scarcity, but as ones who've received the kingdom. And we know that whatever we give to Jesus by faith, whatever we give away to him, he will always give back more. I mean, just think about back to Mary for a second. Like, she broke the jar of perfume and everyone gets upset with her. But then in verse 7, Jesus said, "Leave her alone so that she may keep it for the day of my burial." Which is a weird thing for Jesus to say at this moment. Like, what? Keep what? Like, she broke the jar. She's not going to get all the ointment back into a broken vessel. Like, it's gone. But see, I don't think Jesus was talking about the perfume here. I think he's talking about her joy. He's saying, let her hold on to this joy, the joy of serving me, the gift of sacrifice that she is making for me, the surrender that she is showing me. Let her keep that. Like, he's protecting her joy. Listen, there's 1,000 sorrows in this life that will try to rob you of your joy. I mean, there have been so many sorrows on so many different levels just this past week. But Jesus won't let the world steal your joy away from you in serving him, of giving your life to him. I think what he's trying to say is not even the sorrows of his coming death will take that joy away. See, Mary sacrificed greatly for Jesus because she understood who he is and decided there's no one else she'd rather build her life on. But Jesus also connected Mary's sacrifice to his death, to his burial. See, perfumes and spices were also meant to mask the smell of death at somebody's burial. But eventually, the decay would give way. The decay would come and it would perfume. But see, Mary, she reverses the order here. Like, she anointed Jesus while he was still alive, which is not something that you do. As if to say the stench of his death will be here for a moment, but the sweet aroma of his resurrection will last forever. That's why, for us as his church, we choose to build our lives on Jesus, because we've seen the sacrifice he's made for us. We see the power of his resurrection at work within us. Now, that doesn't mean you don't care about your job or your family or any of your other responsibilities. I mean, build the best company, be the best employee, invest in your family, but devote yourself to Jesus in everything, in all those things. And then watch how he multiplies what you give in service to him. How he grows the fruit of the Spirit in you. How he stirs faith and repentance in others around you. How he uses you, the gifts that he's given you to help in building his church. See, the reward that Jesus gives is always greater than the sacrifice he asks us to make. And he says the gratitude that we have for him, that's what leads to the devotion to do anything and everything in service to him.